All right, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, Wahar Chakwadash, which Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai, that's whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, it's his true name. And the Chakwadash, that is the Holy Spirit. And I would like to also give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to all you brothers out there. And I just want to do a quick lesson that's inspired by two videos that I saw earlier today. One by the Apostle Tahar, and the other by the Elder Manata Zakba out there in South Carolina. And in those two videos, they were talking about how these different Israelite groups, make us look bad. Such as IUIC, ISUPK, and then I'll add as well these different groups, okay? And you see, I'll say this about a lot of these groups out there. They know of the truth, but they're really not in the truth. And the reason why I'm saying that is because these guys aren't focusing on warning the people, feeding the flock, okay? And in general, focusing on prophecies, okay? These guys, constantly have to have new gimmicks in order to make themselves relevant. They have to, go on these different podcasts, make these different TikTok videos, Instagram, videos, right? Constantly getting, families together. Because they don't really have the truth like that. See, in order to obtain the truth, you got to come to the prophets, which, we at Great Millstone, I'm saying this with faith, by the way, in confidence, that we are the prophets of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. We are those men, okay? And I'll say this, the men of the Lord, they didn't really have a good message, so to speak, okay? For the most part, it was very gloom and doom. And that's because usually when a man of the Lord was on the scene, they were talking about a downfall of a kingdom and how judgment's coming. And most people, they don't want to hear about that. Okay? Our people, they want to hear the smooth things. They don't want to deal with the bitter. All right? And I'll say this, yes, we talk, of course, about the kingdom of Yahweh Bashim Al Shai, about how we're going to have, our godlike state, or how we're going to be in our godlike state, how we're going to have, many wives, many children, how we're going to be ruling over the heathens, how we're going to have slaves, all right, so on and so forth. Yes, we talk about these things, but you got to remember, before these things come, to us, hey, we're going to enter into the straight gate, okay? We're going to enter into some perilous times. Jacob's trouble, which in my, opinion, in my belief, we're at the beginning stages of it already, through these different benefits getting cut off, people losing their jobs. You got the ICE agents out here, which that's also starting to include what? The National Guard as well. You see? A lot of things are happening. All right? And that's what we should be focusing on. Getting our people prepared for the things that's about to hit. But these guys, they're not doing that. And like I said, it's because they don't really have the truth. So they got to keep, coming up with these new gimmicks. And you see these guys, at the end of the day, they want to live comfortably in this, kingdom that they're in. They don't want to deal with what the Lord has set up for us as a people. Okay, like I said, that straight gate, that narrow gate. You see, or that narrow path. All right, and let me get this, because you got to remember, at the end of the day, hey, this is the Lord's movie, and we as a people are gonna have to deal with these things. This is our lot. This is our portion. Okay, and let me get this real quick. This is 2 Ezra chapter 7, and I'll start at verse 3. And I said, speak on, my power. Then said he unto me, the sea is set in a wide place, that it might be deep and great. But put the case, the entrance were narrow, and like a river. Who then could go into the sea to look upon it and rule it? If he went not through the narrow, how could he come into the broad? There is also another thing. A city is builded and set upon a broad field, and is full of all good things, which that's a representation of the kingdom. Okay, let's keep reading. The entrance thereof is narrow, and is set in a dangerous place to fall, like as if there were fire on the right hand, and on the left a deep water, and one only path between them both, even between the fire and the water, so small that there could but one man go there at once. And that shows you right there that there's only one way to get into the kingdom. All right? And that's the straight and narrow path, where it's going to be nothing but full of difficulties, okay? Temptations, hardships. That's it. Because look, if you try to go some other way, all right, instead of the front door, because remember in John 10 it talks about that. What? You gotta go through the door, right? You can't go any other way. That's it. All right. But see, a lot of our people, they don't want to deal with that. Bearing that cross is too much for them to handle. So they're trying to, like I said, I'll say this: they try to go through the side door, what is that? That little cellar door. They got those old school farmhouses like out here in Chicago. They still got those. All right, if you got one of the older homes, they're trying to go through the back porch. You know what I'm saying? One of the side windows, the back windows. They're trying to any other way but going through that front door. And at the end of the day, that's going to cause them to be destroyed. You see? And we here at Great Millstone are saying, no, we got to go through that front door, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not. All right? Which it will make you feel uncomfortable. All right? You got to deal with it. You got to gird up your loins like a man and just bear your cross. You see? And people get mad that we talk about these things. Let's keep reading. Oh, and then mind you, to go back to that 8th verse, it said what? That only one man can enter at once. So you got to work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. That's Philippians 2:12. Okay? And look, you're walking on eggshells in this thing. All right? Because look, at any moment, you can mess up and fall. So we got to be very cautious in how we move. Okay? Very, very cautious. But let me keep reading. Verse 9. If this city now were given unto a man for an inheritance, if he never shall pass the danger set before it, how shall he receive this inheritance? And I said, it is so, Lord. Then said he unto me, even so also is Israel's portion. So this is a part of our, portion. This is what we got to deal with, okay, as a nation. There is no other way. We have to deal with this. We have to go through it. But these, these other camps, they don't focus on it. And the reason why is because it doesn't appeal to the masses. Remember, let me get that Isaiah, I believe the 30th chapter. It talks about how our people want to hear what? The smooth things. Okay? This is what they want to hear, the smooth things. They want to hear deceits and lies. You see? All right, this is Isaiah 30, and I'll start at 8. Now go write it before them in a table and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children that will not hear the law of the Lord. And this is talking about Israel, okay? And it says here, which say to the seers, which that's another title for a prophet, okay? And look, we got that vision. You people don't. The Lord blessed us with that eye salve, and now we can see, past this place, and we see what's to come. And when we're blowing that trumpet, telling and warning the people, telling you, get right with Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, because the enemy's coming. It's about to get chaotic. All right? Hey, run to that strong tower. Believe in Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. This is our only way to get salvation. This is the only way for us to be saved. All right? Let's keep reading. It says, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceit. And that's the spirit that our people are in. And this is why they're attracted to IUIC, ISUPK, these different groups. They don't teach you the 100% truth. Okay? Because they want to be coddled, They don't want to be told what's right, what's really about to go down. Because I'll say this, a lot of these individuals, they're scared. They put on this facade, that they're super tough and that, we're not going to, deal with anything. We got this. Nothing's going to bother me. No, deep down inside, they're scared because, look, it's getting real. Okay? It's getting real out here. And it's only getting worse. And look, we're not even in the full effects of 2nd Ezra 15, 2nd Ezra 16. These different, end time prophecies where people are getting raped to death, eaten alive. All right, eating themselves. Nothing but constant warfare, in the streets. People doing sadistic things, literally torturing individuals. Okay? We haven't even gotten to that point. All right? And it's coming. It's not going to stop. Hey, what does it say in 2nd Ezra 16? If the Lord send those plagues, who shall send them back? Okay? Who's going to send them back? If the Lord already has them out here. And remember, everything starts off with His word. So if it's written, it's coming to pass. You can't avoid it. It's impossible. You see? All right? But let me get this too. Let me get this scripture, because a lot of these guys, they want to be seen by men. They'll say, oh, we go on these different podcasts. We make these different videos to, edify, the flock, right? To get the message out there. But at the end of the day, it's not really about that for them. It's really not. Really, these guys, they want to be glorified now. And it's crazy because, look, Yahushua needs His glory first before we can be, joint heirs, before we can, receive these things as well. So if Yahushua hasn't received His glory, what makes you think that you're going to obtain yours first? It makes no sense. All right? But this is Salaki, I was just seeing where I should start. This is Matthew 23. And I'll just start at 1. Then spake Yahushua to the multitude and to His disciples, saying, the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. And therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do, but do not ye after their works, for they say and do not. And basically, Yahweh Shai is talking about how they're these wicked scribes and Pharisees, how they were hypocrites. They'll actually teach you particular things that are on point, right? They may talk about the law and particular practices that were, that which is true and that which is on point, but don't, really follow their works. Don't follow their conduct, okay? Because they're hypocrites, they're liars, they're not doing what they say, And that's the same with a lot of these guys too. They'll teach you some stuff. I will say that, IUIC, ISUPK, they'll push particular things that are on point, but don't be like these guys, okay? They're a terrible example. Okay? Let's keep reading. It says, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. And that's the spirit these guys all come in. They want to be seen by men. Just do the work, preach, feed the flock. That's all you have to do. All this extra stuff that these guys have been doing for years, right? Like I said, you got, family events to, R&B and rap concerts to, I'm not even joking, I've seen this, I think this was Sakari, if I'm not mistaken. At a Passover, well, one, they went to a strip club, which was madness, all right? Then two, they literally, I don't know if it was before or after the Passover, they literally had like a wrestling match, like it was something from like the WWF, It's just insane. These guys going on Vice, talking to these different podcasters. You guys are out of your goddamn mind, man. But at the end of the day, like I said, all they want, as the scriptures say, all they want is to be seen by men. That's what it's all about. So they can get the praise. They can get the money. They can get the women. That's what it's all about. You see? Let me keep reading, though. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments. I mean, look at these guys. You got, we got the Purple Barney Gang, all right, with IUIC, purple and gold. It's a goddamn uniform, right? Then you look at, ISUPK, everything is, reminds me of the Black Panthers, black and leather. Star of David, black and leather. Those three things. Has nothing to do with this truth. These guys are bugged out, man. It says, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts and the chief seats in the synagogues and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. And that's the spirit that they come in. They want the top seats, okay? They want to have the highest titles, and they want everyone to basically kiss their ass. All right? And that's why the apostles, this was a few years back, you had a couple brothers, and they weren't, trying to do anything wrong. But you had, I don't know if it was one brother or several brothers. They started basically taking images, starting with the apostles, on down to the elder bishops, the different elders, different brothers, right? And pretty much putting like glowing eyes, and lightning in the background and fire in the background, like we were basically in the kingdom. You know what I'm saying? Like we were in our glorified state. And eventually the apostles, said, look, don't be doing that. Don't glorify us. Stop posting those pictures. To They said it themselves. We don't want to be, praised like that. That's not it. You see? And that's beautiful because, we should be praising Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai. That's it. We're just men. We fall. We stumble. We're weak. We need salvations ourselves. All right? Let me get this real quick. This is You know what? I'm gonna read a few verses. Yeah, I'm gonna start at the top because it's funny because Nate calls himself Bishop Nate, right? And really he needs to read 1 Timothy 3. He needs to read this real quick. Okay? Because I'll say this, as you go up in the ranks, as the scriptures say, much is given, much is required. There's a lot, that's demanded of you now. And you got less room for error. And the reason why is because you should know, better. Okay? It's not fun, I'll say this, getting, these, top positions. It's not. There's a lot on our plates now. You see? This is 1 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. This is a true saying. If a man desire the office of a bishop, he desireth a good work. It says a bishop then must be blameless. Okay? You got to be blameless. The husband of one wife, and let me touch on that real quick. And the reason why that was stated is because having one woman is a lot in general. Then if you start adding more women to your situation, right? 2, 3, 4, 5 women. It's a lot going on in your house. All right? And then women require time. And if you're a top a man, right? Somebody that has position, hey, you got to attend to the church. You can't be playing husband, so to speak. Okay? And the reason why, I'll say this, the reason why I'm bringing that out is because, you'll have certain, I think IUIC might even push that, where you can only have one wife. And that's going off. Look, if you have two, 3 women, there's nothing wrong. You're technically not going off. It's just, I'll say this, it's not a wise thing right now. But hey, if that's your situation, that's your situation. I just wanted to, highlight that real quick. Let's keep reading. Vigilant, sober, of good behavior, given to hospitality, apt to teach. And that's a heavy one. You have to be apt to teach. And a lot of you guys out there from these different camps, you're not really ready to teach. You guys get asked basic questions and you fumble. You know what I'm saying? You look like a goddamn fool. A lot of you aren't really studious like that. You just follow the typical curriculum that your camp presents to you, and that's it. See, I'll say this because here at Great Millstone, starting with the apostles on down, we look into things, okay? The brothers are looking up different words in the Hebrew and Greek to get more understanding of the scriptures. Brothers on their own time watch different historical pieces. Okay? Did different movies, documentaries, so they can get more understanding of what was going on in these time periods. Brothers, read different books that are outside the scriptures, but that also, I'll say this, they give you more insight of ancient biblical ways. Okay, you know I know it's the Elder Yashawamba, and I believe it's another brother in Texas. I don't know his name. Salakia, if you're somehow watching this video, they bring out a lot of videos, and it's concerning ancient biblical customs, and it's an actual book on it. Okay, and it gives you more insight of why particular things were done. Okay. You know, brothers get into the economy, get into different geopolitical information. And we're really bringing this stuff out. You guys aren't. You guys are on podcast, kicking it with some comedian. You're making TikTok videos. And I've seen these other camps too. I still remember this one. IUIC should be embarrassed. I remember somehow, I don't even know how it popped up on my TikTok, because I don't even look into Israelite pages like that. I really don't. To me, it's honestly a little bit of folly, and maybe something might pop up that's some good information of this world. But somehow IUIC page popped up, and it was a battle between the men and the women, and seeing who can name a book that starts with whatever letter first. So if somebody might say, name a book that starts with the letter J, right? And you would have somebody say Joshua, Judges, right? Here's the crazy part: the women actually beat the men. They were naming books faster than the men. That's embarrassing. But see, what IUIC teaches is be a good husband. The community, let's kick it together, guys, instead of getting into these scriptures. Embarrassing. Let's keep reading. This is 1 Timothy 3:3. Not given to wine, not given to wine, no striker, not greedy of filthy lucre. See, that's heavy right there. You guys do this shit for the money, okay? You guys do it for the bag. Let's get for real. But be patient, not a brawler, not covetous, one that ruleth well in his own house, having children in subjection with all gravity. For if a man know not how to rule his house, how shall he take care of the church of the Most High? Here we go. Let me keep reading. Not a novice, which a lot of you guys are real novices, man. Okay? It's pretty evident. You guys don't know what the hell is going on. Least being lifted up with pride, he fall into the condemnation of the devil. And you guys all have pride, man. Okay? Moreover, he must have a good report of them which are without, lest he fall into reproach in the snare of the devil. Likewise, must the deacons be grave, not double-tongued, not given to much wine, not greedy of filthy lucre, holding the mystery of the faith in a pure conscience. All right? And that's pretty much it. I really just wanted to highlight how you're supposed to be doing this, with the pure heart. You guys, have ulterior motives. Like I said, and your main thing that you're doing it for is the filthy lucre. You guys are doing it for fame. See, because when you got fame and money, like I said, that comes with women. People are sitting there, praising you. You get free food, free trips. That's what happens. You see? And it's a bad look. You guys are complete clowns, man. And the Lord is really showing this world who the real men of the Lord are. Because at the end of the day, you people are going to have to come for us, or come to us for the oil. Because we're the ones who are really telling you what's going on, what to do, how to get prepared. No one else is doing that. And a lot of you guys, at the end of the day, you're not going to be able to gather any oil, and you're going to be smoked out here. You're going to be through. All right? But I'm going to end this lesson. It's something I just wanted to touch on, and hopefully it was an edifying one. And with that, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to all your brothers out there. Shalom.